Hi, this is Dan Bonner in the ICC Chimney Lab, and today we're going to be talking about another piece. This one is nothing new. It's our classic EXCEL Chimney Length. This is probably the single most produced part that we have here at ICC, and it deserves a lot of recognition. So this is a 12-inch length, 6-inch diameter. The way we package them is in what you can see here, what we call a bikini box. So we have one box on top, one cap on the bottom, and the majority of it is exposed. It comes with a strap wrapped around it like so to keep it together. The strap is beautiful because it lets you carry it. It gives you something that you can grab onto and carry multiple lengths at a time. And the reason we like the bikini box is that it's less wasteful, it's more environmentally friendly. The cardboard can be recycled. Also, because the chimney is exposed, if there's any damage in transport, you'll be able to see when it arrives if there's dings and dents and whatnot right away, and that way you can refuse the package or you can send it off to for a claim. But we do it intentionally so that the transport companies take better care of the lengths. So once it's unpackaged, you'll see what really makes EXCEL different from other brands. Inside the box, we give 3 stainless steel self-tapping screws with every single piece. But the construction is very different than the competition. We'll start by looking at the welds. So the welds themselves, you can see, this is actually a seam weld all the way across, continuous. That is going to be much stronger than a lock form seam. And then on the inside, you can see we have the weld there as well. That is a laser welded seam. A lot of the competition uses a lock form, which is basically when they take metal and they crimp it together like that. And it's a strong type of seal if you're pulling on it. But a lock form is very weak if you push on it. And so a laser weld or overlap seam weld like this is going to be much more resistant to movement in the chimney, because as this gets hot, don't forget, this is for solid fuel. This is for like a wood stove installation. So on the inside here, if you have a chimney fire, this could be as much as 2,100 degrees. That's extremely hot, and it's going to want to move. And if you have any amount of play in that lock form, it could come apart. So we use only laser welded joints on the inside liner. That's the first thing to look at. And one of the reasons why our chimney has got a lifetime warranty is because of these welded joints. You'll also see that we have exposed insulation. That means that when insulation from the top piece meets up with insulation from the piece below, they're actually going to touch each other. So when you put a system together, you have a continuous layer of insulation all the way across. What you'll get with the competition is metal end caps, metal bridges across the top and across the bottom. And they do that mostly because they don't use a single solid piece of insulation. We use a one piece of solid blanket wrapped around each length so that there's absolutely no gaps and you get complete protection. A lot of the competition uses loose fill insulation, so they'll put a cap in on the bottom, then they'll fill in the insulation and pack it down to gets a certain weight, and they put a cap on so that it can't fall out. It works, but what you wind up with is a metal cap here and a metal cap here. And so that leads to exactly what we want to avoid with chimney. You have a thermal transfer. The transfer of heat can happen at those metallic joints. And that thermal bridging is going to bring the temperature up at those joints and potentially cause an issue. So on every length of EXCEL, we have the minimal amount of contact, just these 3 brackets, that's it. Everything else is free floating. Being free floating also has its advantages. This part has to be able to move. You know, the outside of the chimney is not going to be nearly as hot as the inside. We're going to be over 2,000 degrees on the inside and only a few hundred degrees on the outside. So if that ever happens, this is going to want to move and flex. And with EXCEL, you can see how independent the inside and the outside are, and it can do that in any way it needs to. So EXCEL has laser welded seams, separate inner and outer liner to be flexible, no thermal bridging, and the materials we're using proprietary stainless steel. We're the only manufacturer using it. I can't tell you what it is, but we use a proprietary stainless steel on the inside because it's so flexible, it allows this to move in the heat. So it needs to be able to flex, it needs to be able to move, and it needs to be able to withstand corrosion. So that's what makes it a good inside. On the outside, what do we want? We want it to be shiny, we want it to be beautiful, we want it to be resistant to the elements, but it needs to also be hard. So on the outside, we want a really hard stainless steel. This is 430 stainless steel. It's very hard at room temperature. It's very good looking. On the inside, we want flexibility and we want resistance to corrosion. So they're not the same, but they're doing two completely separate and very important jobs. So to install a length of EXCEL, you'll just take one length. You will find the seam on the next length. You'll stack them together. So when the seams align, you'll get your screws. This is a 1/4 inch nut driver that you'll need on these screws. Put that into your magnetic 1/4 inch nut driver. The pre-punched holes on each of these brackets will align. So you've got a hole on the bottom and a hole on the top. When the seam aligns, these holes will align, and you can just zip, 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 put the screws in. And if you hit all 3 holes, shouldn't be hard. The length is going to be nice and straight. It's going to be solid, and to be able to go ahead with your installation. You can see here we have a up arrow on each length. So that makes this the male end. The male end is going to always fit inside of the female end. What we want is overlap to the interior of the length at every joint, so that anything that's dripping down the chimney stays on the inside of the chimney. The outside is going to be on the outer edge here, but the male end is going to fit inside. So that's our typical 1 foot length of EXCEL. It comes in 6 inches, 1 foot. There's adjustables, 2 foots, 18 inches, 36 inches, and 48 inches. But hope you enjoyed the video.